Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Living Generationally podcast. I'm your host, Brianna Laurie, and thank you for joining me here for another podcast episode. And if you're new to Living Generationally podcast, I just want you to know the mission of Living Generationally. And if you aren't new here and you need to be reminded, because I know I need to be reminded, I just want to share that with you. So, living generationally is where we get the opportunity to explore how our everyday choices ripple through our lives and the lives of those who come after us. This is where purpose begins, where gratitude grows, and where accountability leads to legacy. And that is awesome. And in today's podcast episode, it's more of a chill podcast episode today. I have some things I want to share with you, some projects I've been working on and I'm excited about. If you listen to last podcast episode, where I talked about just thinking for yourself and stuff like that, you can listen to that podcast episode. But I also shared some updates with the Living Generationally podcast and things I was excited about. If you want to go listen to that, you can go listen to that. But in that podcast episode, I also shared some things I was excited to work on, and I'm going to show you a sneak peek of that, and hopefully there'll be more things I can share in the future. But if you are new here and you want to continually come back to the Living Generation podcast, subscribe to the channel. I'm on YouTube. This is where the video podcast is posted. But if you are driving or you're doing a workout or you're at home, you can also listen to the podcast on Spotify or Apple and share with a friend if it encourages you or a family member as well too. Um, and if you'd be so kind to leave a podcast rating or review, it just helps the podcast to grow. And I also would very much appreciate it. And you can also leave a 5-star review. Yeah. And if you also are interested, you can follow me on Substack. And I'm actually excited because my goal this year is to be more consistent with posting on Substack, different articles and different not articles, but mostly journals and things that are on my mind. It's kind of gonna be a space where I can kind of just share what's on my heart and things that I'm wrestling with or things that I'm excited about or just the highs and lows of life and kind of inviting you on that journey. And I think it'll be an amazing place to just share some stuff that's on my mind and to hear your ideas as well too. It would be fun to connect with you on that. If you're interested, you can go to Substack and all. This will be in the description of the YouTube channel or the description of the podcast episode. Yeah, so that is that. So I'm gonna show you, and if you're listening to the podcast on Spotify, Apple, you may not be able to see, but if you're interested in seeing, you can head over to YouTube. So I'm gonna show you just what I've been working on, and I left a little hint in the last video, but I'm gonna show you actually in this video. So, um, I'm working on soap. I'm I have some ideas of things I want to do, and I'm thinking not only starting a soap business as a soap is part of the things I want to do. I think I'm more interested in creating a homemade handmade store and just kind of making things and um if you're interested in buying them you can do that as well too. But the store I've right currently I do one day would like to open an online store, but right now I'm going to focus more on doing in-person stuff. But Lord willing, I can do that down the line. But you can look out for that and just more exciting things coming with that. Just I have a lot of things I'm excited about for this year and just kind of just taking those steps of faith. And I'm going to talk more about that later on in the podcast episode. You can easily be so nervous and think about the idea, but not knowing how it's going to work out. But I'm learning that you just got to take the steps of faith. And sometimes it'll work out, sometimes it won't, and things change. But I would rather take a step and continue walking forward towards something than keep having ideas and never pursuing them. So this is just my step of faith. Um, so this is the soap. This is the second bar set I actually made. So this one is tallow soap. It's tallow, olive oil, and coconut oil. It's a very simple recipe. I actually got two soap making books that are really helpful. that's helped me learn a lot about soap making, and I'm just gonna keep practicing. Yeah, but this is the bar, and it looks really pretty, and I'm very happy about it. And I'm gonna show you my first one. Maybe I should have started off with my first one, so I can kind of like redeem myself with the second bar. But the first bar doesn't look bad. I'm just learning a lot, just like with different formulas and techniques to with the soap. And obviously, I'm new to this. So I'm learning to not be too hard on myself. But this is the first batch of soap I've made, and you can see I try to do a design, but yeah. So this soap is also tallow based soap, the same base as before, and this is cold processed soap. So I made it from scratch, um, lye soap. So this is tallow, coconut oil, and olive oil. But in this, I added charcoal. That's how we got like the color on the top. But then I also added lavender and geranium as well, essential oil. So it smells really good. I wish there was like a smelled like thing so you could smell it as well too. So, but that is what I've been working on, and I'm excited to see the different kinds of soap I make. And I have one I'm actually really excited to work on and create that would help with hyperpigmentation, and I think that would be very fun to work on. Um, but yeah, this is the project I've been working on, and I'm excited that you can see it. And yeah, it smells really good. And then something else I've been working on as well is, let's see if I can pick it all up. They kind of look really funny, but these are hand dipped candles. Um, I made a batch a couple weeks ago, but I didn't have enough beeswax, so they came out very short and stubby, and they kind of look like trees, or mom said they look like carrots. But I definitely redeemed myself with this batch. They look better, but obviously I'm going to continue working on it, because if I do want to sell it, I do want it to be like something that looks nice. If it's more just me using it at home, it doesn't have to be perfect. But if I'm going to sell them, like I don't know if you can see up close, um, they have some cracks in them, and I don't want to sell them like that. So just gonna keep working on different batches, and these probably gonna end up these are actually gonna. That's my mom. These are gonna be our emergency candle collection. So these are hand dipped candles that I made literally a couple hours ago, and they just got finished drying. And I absolutely love the color of them, and I love that they smell like honey. Um, I asked my nieces what they think it smells like, and one of them said it stinks. So there's that. If you ask children something, they're gonna be honest with you. But I really like the smell of them. Um, yeah. So that is a few things, handmade items I've been working on. I have another handmade item I'm really interested in trying out. And I will show you that, Lord willing, in another podcast episode, or maybe I'll do like a video for Life with Brie and kind of take you on along on the journey of that. But that is what I've been working on and what I'm excited for in 2026, and just having fun as well too, and having be something that I enjoy. Um, but that is what I'm excited about, and that's what I wanted to share with you. So I hope you enjoyed seeing that. But something that I did want to talk about in today's podcast episode, and I mentioned this also in the last podcast episode, um, that instead of doing New Year's resolutions, what are some other options that you can do? And I mentioned that I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions, because I think oftentimes we can say, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, so I'm going to work out," and literally the next day or the next second, those New Year's resolutions are nowhere to be found. Um, but I do want to share with you something I am wanting to take into this year that I kind of learned a bit last year, and want to adopt, I don't know, into this year as well too. And I was listening to a podcast episode, and they talked about this, and I was like, "Oh, that's actually really interesting." And also there's a book called Atomic Habits, and I feel like that's a good book to read. I didn't read all of it. I read some of it, but um it was very helpful in talking about the difference between like having resolutions and goals and having habits that actually become a part of your lifestyle and who you are. And I think that is encouraging, having those systems and those habits, because something that you do over and over and over again without even thinking about, that becomes a part of who you are in your lifestyle. Instead of having resolutions where you tell yourself, I'm going to do this thing, but it doesn't become part of your life. It just becomes something that you say you're going to do, but you don't actually end up doing it long term. And something that's really encouraging as well too is that systems and habits, or yeah, systems and habits, um they they're more long term, whereas resolutions, New Year's resolutions or goals, can end up being something that's very short term, where, like I mentioned before, you end up thinking about, like, oh, like, yeah, that sounds good in the beginning of the year, and then like halfway through the year you're like, I actually don't like this, or you need to adapt. And something I like about systems and habits is that they adapt with your life. I think sometimes we think that we can create a goal in the beginning of the year and it has to be the same set goal. You can't change. But as we know, like, life changes, things happen. Um, and having those systems or those habits, you're able to be more flexible with your life, because you know, like, hey, this habit is actually more part of who I am, like, and the person I want to become. And if something happens or something unexpected happens, that habit doesn't have to go away. Like, it can change with your lifestyle, creating new systems and habits that adapt with you. And that's something that I really enjoy about having systems and habits. Something that I learned in 2025 is that, like, I was writing down goals, and I was like, oh, I 2025, like, I think I mentioned this before, but that was like the first year where I actually was like, okay, these are the goals that I want and stuff like that. But I actually didn't do the best in pursuing them consistently. Um, and I think I'm learning. So I'm on this journey with you of learning how to adapt these systems and habits to my life. I'm not speaking as an expert or anything. I'm speaking as someone who is in it with you and is learning and growing as well with you, and wanting to create good habits and systems that not only benefit my life but the lives of those around me as well too. Because something, like, with living generationally, um, the different choices that we make not only impacts us but the people around us as well too. And creating systems and habits that help our health, or help our family, help our community, help our home, is an amazing way to not only help ourselves but those around us. And I think the more that I am adapting, for example, something with working out. I love working out. Something I do is Pilates, like, at home, because those memberships, I'm sure, are very expensive. But something I realize is, like, I know, like, Brianna likes working out. I like working out. Like, it's something that's become a part of me, and something that I find myself easily doing, rather than setting up a resolution and saying, like, oh, I'm resolved to do this thing and never getting it done. When a system or a habit becomes a part of my life, this says, okay, Brianna does this thing. I work out, and I'm doing this thing because of a bigger picture ahead. And I think that's key when creating systems and habits and things. And what is different than having New Year's resolutions is, often when New Year's resolutions, we don't have a long term picture in mind. We just think, oh, like, I'm resolved to do this thing, but after it no longer um serves its purpose, or it doesn't have the same benefits as it did in the beginning, we just forsake it. But with having those systems and those habits, you realize it's a part of something that's bigger. I'm learning that when you're creating those systems, attach it to something that's bigger. For example, like, going back to the working out example, I want to work out so that, Lord willing, when I have children and I have a family, I can have the energy to play with my children and to um, be there for them. Not to say that it's going to be perfect whether I take care of my body or not, but it's like, I just want to be able to be healthy. And also, we also know that hospital bills are expensive, so that's also another motivation. Is that, like, and yes, you can't control everything. Things happen, accidents happen, but something that I'm encouraged with in working out is that, hey, I'm not working out just for present Brianna. I'm working out for future Brianna when she has kids, um, and she's going through the different seasons of life. And and also for the older years as well too. I think as young people, we can forget that the habits or the choices that we make now affect our affect ourselves in our later years. Like the way that you treat your body now and you steward your body now is going to affect how you show up when you're 40, 50, and 60. Lord willing that we get to live that long. So I think that's what encourages me as well too with having systems and habits, is having something that's bigger in mind. Especially because we get discouraged in life. Like life is filled with highs and lows, and feelings come in and feelings go. So if I just built um my life around my feelings, I would never get anything done. Like this podcast wouldn't get done. Like literally, I was talking to my nieces before I pressed record. I was like, I do not want to do this. Like I'm just tired. I want to go to bed. But I committed myself to this podcast, and I want to see it grow, and I want to see other lives impacted by it, and my own life. Like I've grown so much just from doing this podcast because I'm able to reflect, I'm able to talk, and I'm able to say things that keep myself accountable because something I'm convicted by. I know I don't just want to talk the talk, but I also want to walk the walk. I want to share these things as I'm growing and learning and being stretched, but also saying, hey, like I fell short here. Hey, I didn't do this right. Like, hey, like I am not doing the best. Like right now, being personal, it's like I feel like I'm failing at my friendships. Like I just there's things going on, and I'm navigating, and I'm I don't know. I just feel like I'm failing in that area. Um, Learning how to be focused but not forsake community and things around you. So that's an area where the Lord is stretching me in and I'm growing in, and it's not rainbows, butterflies, and sunshine all the time. There's a lot of hard stuff that goes on, but I want to show up and say, hey, like this is where I'm learning. This is where I feel like I'm failing. This is where I need more grace and the Lord's help. So I'm here with you. Um, I'm 23, so I'm no expert. I'm not speaking from some whole life experience. I'm just speaking as someone who has a desire and wants to build something bigger than herself, but realizing that it's a journey and there's a process and the destination isn't the goal, and I'm just here with you along that journey. Um, but yeah, uh, just want to encourage you to attach those systems or those habits to something that's bigger than yourself, because it helps you. I'm telling you, it helps you on the days where you just feel like you just don't want to do it anymore, or it's just hard, or you're not seeing the growth that you want to see or you expected to see. And that's been really encouraging in my own life, because when I feel like I want to stop, or I feel like a failure, or I didn't show up 100%, I'm able to go to the Lord and read his word, because man, his word is like it's a sword and he will convict, but he's also full of grace as well too. um yeah, and I'm looking forward to working on different systems and habits, and I actually want to do a part two of this podcast episode and doing a dream vision board. I know that's something popular that people do, and I think there's something about just seeing something visual and seeing that constantly. Like I really want to do that, and I watch other podcast episodes, and it's encouraging to see the things that they want to work on, and it just makes me joyful because it's like, oh, that's amazing. Like they're working on their goals, and it encourages me to work on my own goals. And so I'm going to do a part two of this podcast episode, of doing a dream vision board, so I can invite you into the process of just visualizing those goals, or those habits I want to become a part of my life, to become um, to show up better in my life, and to become the person I desire to be. Um, yeah. So I just want to encourage you, especially for those who may feel hopeless. I know sometimes looking at the different things that are happening in our world and our country, it's easy to get discouraged and say, what's the point of creating goals? What's the point of having systems and habits where it feels like at any moment it can all be just destroyed, or people are just putting constant fear without wisdom. I think there's a lot, like I mentioned this in the previous podcast episode, I think there's a lot of truth to what is being said, but I don't think there's enough wisdom being shared on how to maneuver in this time and culture. Like, um, I don't know. I'm just not for just living life like the next day is gonna be a whole catastrophe. Like I just don't believe that. Like I believe I serve a God who's full of hope, and he does say things are going to be hard, but he's also a God of hope, and I cling to that so much, especially in a world that's constantly telling me that don't, like, you're like everything is falling apart, like there's no hope, like there like don't listen to that. Like I mentioned before in previous podcast episodes, I'm gonna keep saying the same thing. Be encouraged. Like, yes, listen with wisdom and open ears, but don't just live a life that, oh, everything is doom and gloom, and I might as well not build anything. Um, but it's like I've heard someone said it's like live as though like Jesus is coming back tomorrow, but plant the seeds. And I think sometimes like those two things aren't often shared. It's like, oh, like Jesus is gonna return, and like we're all gonna get raptured out of here, and it's like, okay, oh my god, like I have my own thoughts about that, but it's like instead it's like, yes, that may be true, but how can we live our lives fruitfully for the Lord? Like, I think it's unwise to live life constantly thinking that catastrophe is going to come and not being prepared, or not being wise, or not stewarding things that the Lord has for you. It just constantly reminds me of the parable of the talents, and it's just convicting. And I think it just shows the Lord's heart as well too. The Lord informs us of future events because he doesn't want us to be ignorant of those things, but it's not to make us fearful. And I think often I feel like fear is almost perpetuated or kind of like used, and it's not like a lot of wisdom. I've been really struggling with that and wrestling with that as well too. But I just want to encourage you that when you feel hopeless, know that you can take that to the Lord, but also that there's hope. And I feel like it also shows the Lord how much you trust him, that even through whatever's going on in the world, that you're moving forward, that you're being a light in this world, that you're serving your family, you're planting seeds, even if we don't know what tomorrow may bring. And I think that brings humility, but I think also shows so much faith and trust in the Lord when we actually plan for it. Like, well, we can humbly say like we only have today, but we can also plan, because I think that also shows the faith that we have. But we can also offer those things up to the Lord, because as we know, many are the plans of man, but it's the Lord that establishes our steps. So um just want to encourage you to plan, have systems, have goals that benefit your life and your family. And don't and take a break from social media. Just get off. Like, I know I'm not. I no. I'm just gonna tell you just to get off. Just get off social media. Like, there's more to life than constantly being bombarded by someone else's life. And I know some people use it for their businesses and stuff like that. Okay, but other than that, like, it's just a waste of time. I'm telling you, it's a waste of time. Like, I've got into all these different things because I just sometimes I'm just like I'm bored. I don't know what to do, and these ideas come up, and family encourage me, and different things like that. And there's so many things that the Lord wants to offer to us, so many good things, but we're not able to enjoy it or to take part in it because we're so easily pleased by the things of this world or someone else's life. And there's a quote that's coming up in my head. I think it's by, I don't know if it's C.S. Lewis or Spurgeon. I don't know who it's by, but it's like I'm gonna put, maybe I'll put in the description or somewhere in the video. I mean, yeah, but I forgot how the quote goes. Maybe I'll like look at it, search it up, and then cut this part because I think it's a really good quote. If we consider the unblushing promises of reward and the staggering nature of the rewards promised in the Gospels, it would seem that our Lord finds our desires not too strong, but too weak. We are half-hearted creatures fooling about with drink and ambition when infinite joy is offered us, like an ignorant child who wants to go on making mud pies in a slum because he cannot imagine what is meant by the offer of a holiday at the sea. We are far too easily pleased. And that quote kind of like came up when I was talking about like the doom and gloom and stuff like that. But I think that also talks about like us just being so easily pleased by the things of this world and not having our heart set on the Lord and what He asks for us as well too. And that's convicting to my own heart because I get distracted as well. Um, I want to end with a scripture verse in Matthew 5:13. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." And I think that is just a beautiful reminder that we are called, like as Christians, we are called for such a time as this. We're created for such a time as this. Instead of hiding and, I don't want to say fear mongering because I think a lot of it can be true, but I think we so focus on that we don't focus on the light that we can be. We don't focus on the amazing things like we can do, or how we can like teach me, O Lord, to number my days so I can gain a heart of wisdom. How we can number our days, how we can use our time, how we can help those around us. Like God's people, we're not supposed to shy away in moments like these. There's supposed to be lights, and yes, it gets scary, and we don't know what's gonna. There's uncertainties, but it's like what a time to be alive, and what an opportunity to be a light, and what an opportunity to create things that encourage those around us, and create businesses that benefit our families. And I don't know, I'm just encouraged. I don't want to be a part of putting fear into your hearts, because the Lord has not given us the spirit of fear, but love and a sound mind. And He has given us wisdom, and He will give us wisdom and discernment if we ask of it. It says that in James. If we ask for wisdom, He will give willingly without finding fault. And I believe that the Lord is looking for people to ask for wisdom, to ask for discernment in times that look uncertain, but to live life to the fullest in the Lord, and to share the light and of the good news of who He is, but also to continue working, continue doing business the way that He called us to, and doing it in a way that glorifies and honors Him. I'm just not going to sit here and be a part of the mountain of just discouragement that is out there, but I'm going to say, like, listen with wisdom, but also act. Don't just sit there and rot. But yeah, I know that's a bit harsh, but that's what I need to hear a lot of times. But um, yeah, and I hope you have a good day, and that you live with legacy leading to the future, and that you know that your life matters, and that you're created on purpose for a purpose. God is too good and too kind to create something and to waste it. Um, Especially those who are willing to be used. So, with that, that is the end of the podcast episode. And you can like, comment, subscribe, leave a review. Just helps the podcast to grow, and I would very much appreciate it as well too. Especially if has encouraged you, share with a friend. And that is the end of the podcast episode. The podcast episode. Goodbye, friends. we're, we're doing great. It's awesome. Okay. I don't know why it makes me nervous having y'all just stare at me. Okay.